Welcome back to the Mental Health Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Rachel Harrison, and today we are going to be talking to Rosemary Baughman, who is the founder of Courageous Hearts, which is an equine therapy group in Delaware. Welcome, Rosemary.
Thanks so much, Rachel. I'm excited to be chatting with you today.
Yeah, so let's talk about your journey. I know you have founded this place that I hear is an amazing place, but how did this all get started for you? Where did the idea come from?
That's the question that we always get asked, and a story I love to tell, as a matter of fact.
Awesome.
So, my career in the equine-assisted psychotherapy started later in life, and I am not born and raised a horse person, which people are always amazed by.
Oh,
I do not ride. That's which people are like, really? You're the horse lady. Well, I'm not the horse lady. I am the creative person
interesting.
that brought the horses and the people together, is what happened.
Hmm.
So how horses became part of my life, I actually have 5 children, and there's two, and then there's 20 years, and there's three more. So the baby, the very last one, our only girl, like many little girls, wanted to ride a horse when she was 2, and we had just moved to Delaware, and we're kind of in a rural section of Delaware. And I thought, there's got to be somebody who put this child on a horse. So that's how it started. And we found somebody who put this child on a horse, and it became a gift and a passion for her. And we saw it within a year. We're not all born with that. And she's one that was. So we were able to nurture her passion through our own sacrifice, because as many people know, the
Hmm.
world is not in any, a 1,200-pound animal is kind of expensive.
Mhm.
And we didn't own one, but just to even get riding. So we bartered a lot to make it happen for her. We did work at the barn. Fast forward, as her career grew, she was 7, 8, 9, 10, and she began doing lots of different things with horses, different trainers, and it because I was able to support that, and I had the lifestyle that the way my work schedule worked, I could be with her during all her trainings. And it was really clear to me that horses just have this natural healing power. Many of us know that about
Mhm.
animals in
Mhm.
general. And as I would watch, and I worked with the people in the mental health field, I work with children and adults struggling with traumas and addictions and just day-to-day life. And how could we find a way to connect those people with horses in a psychotherapy model?
Hmm.
Most of us can't have horses. She was able to go, and her girlfriends, when they would break up with their boyfriends or do whatever, they'd go to the barn, they'd cry with the horse, and they'd brush the horse, and they'd move on. We all don't have that, but how could we find a way to help that, and so that we could grow skills that are transferable to everyday life? Um, we found a training that we really liked quite by accident in 2012. And I say we because I'm actually a co-founder. I do own the business myself now. It evolved. But myself and Linda Muncie, who's an equine professional, who is one of my daughter's trainers, we co-founded Courageous Hearts in 2012, when we went off to training in a co-facilitated model, which means that there's a mental health clinician who is
Hmm.
licensed or under direct licensure at the master's level, and with an equine professional, meaning someone who has been working with horses for well over 5 years and knows horse behavior.
Mhm.
And we were able to bring it together in a way that made sense to all of us. And we've just kind of evolved over the next almost 13 years into this miraculous place, and all the people that work with us now. It's just amazing. So that's kind of how the story started.
Okay. And so what does it look like now? What like
Mhm.
if we were on your property, what would we see?
What it looks like now is we have 20 people that work with us now. It
Mm.
started out as a 2 people endeavor, for now it's up to 20. We have 15 horses in the program on 2 separate properties. And so
Mm.
what you will see if you come up to the property, you might see, like right now, if I look outside, there's probably a team, which again involves a clinician and an equine professional and a client, probably sitting on the ground in a field with loose horses. And people that
Mm.
are equine people go, however, yes, there's risks involved. We know our horses very well. We don't put people in with horses that we think are going to come stomp on you or something like that. And we really learn from the horse behavior. So what happens, Rachel, sometimes just pulling up to the property because it's a farm,
Mm,
people, you actually hear people just,
mm,
the anxiety, the stress just decreases just from the environment. We're not, because it's not clinical. Your clinicians are going to be best dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. And you're kind of hanging out, which helps reduce that anxiety because it's hard to share our pain.
oh, yeah.
And if we can reduce some of that just by the environment. So you might see them there, and then you might look out in the back field because 2 or 3 sessions are often going on at the same time. And you see horses and people, and it kind of looks like nothing's happening. Actually, from the outside looking in, it's like, really,
Uh-huh.
this is therapy?
Mm,
Um, it's very organic, and we watch. And then we ask questions, often like a Gestalt model. So we'll
mm,
say, what did you notice? So it's super client led. A client might see, for example, 2 horses, maybe with their mouths on each other's shoulders, and each client is going to perceive that differently. Do I know what it means in horse behavior? I do. That's not what's important. It's that looks like my mom and dad, they're fighting. And then we can get
mm.
and so then the horses become mom and dad, and it's a lot easier to talk about them out there. So mom
Yeah.
and dad, when they're fighting, what else is happening? And then we start to tell our stories through the horses,
Hmm.
which eventually comes back to bringing in internalized, processing that, and then we take that skill set outside. Okay, when I'm observing a situation, it may or may not be accurate because we might come to cross. Oh, you know what? Sometimes when they're yelling, yeah, they are fighting. They never do hit each other, even though I'm always afraid they're going to. And we can process through, where am I safe? Where am I not safe? And again, that's just a thought that's coming off the top of my head that can happen.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's interesting. And so, not necessarily people riding horses. I think that was
Never
something
riding.
I learned about equine
Mhm.
therapy, is it's not the same as riding horses. Yes.
Exactly. We do not put riding in, and I am going to touch on your word. You're using the word therapy, which is really important for me to talk about.
Okay.
Because therapeutic riding has been around for a long time, which is not a psychotherapy model. And we're working really hard at professionalizing the field because it's so
Mm,
confused. We do instantly think of therapeutic riding. Is that therapeutic? It is. Is it psychotherapy? It is not.
aha.
Unless there's a mental health professional with a treatment plan that's guiding that. Can it help ADHD? Can it help other things? Probably. Um, so that's where we want to really work really hard at differentiating. So we provide a class that's an intro to equine-assisted psychotherapy to educate the community on know who you're going to when you're asking for a service. If you want to ride horses, you're feeling stressed and we're not appropriate for, I'll refer you out. That's totally
Mm-hmm.
fine. We have great people we partner with. But the psychotherapy with the horses, and that's the term we're trying to change. Instead of equine therapy or
Mm.
equine assisted psychotherapy, we're kind of putting psychotherapy first
Ah.
with horses. So
Huh.
it's clearer for people to understand what we're doing.
I
And
like
here's
that.
an even easier way is I'm taking the office into the arena, and your horses are now just part of your therapy team.
Mm. Right. I like that. I'm writing that down actually.
I
That's
see
great.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I do find that there are all different types of interpretation of, yeah, like you're saying, therapeutic writing versus therapy versus what kind of therapy. I mean, sometimes I tell people I'm a therapist and they're like physical therapy,
exactly.
right?
Right.
So yeah, I think
Right.
putting that psychotherapy in front makes a lot of sense.
It does. It's really important. And when we think of the word therapy, and we've done a lot of research on this everything's good, like equine assisted learning, therapeutic riding, it's good. Just know what you're talking about.
Hmm.
When it's therapy, therapy can really only legally be provided by somebody who's some type of licensure, physical therapist,
Right.
occupational therapist, mental health therapist. Otherwise, it's really not therapy. Do we feel better? Probably. but that's
Mm,
okay. Let's just identify it appropriately.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so that model of having a horse person and a mental health professional together,
Mhm.
I'm going to talk about the nuts and bolts a little bit. That's a more expensive model for
Very much so.
doing therapy,
Mhm.
especially if you're trying to get reimbursement from any kind of insurance. So
Mhm.
I'd love to hear how you've worked out those pieces.
Yeah, I'd love to share that with you. I will say that the success rate is not really good in general because of the finances, because
Mm,
we all know we value it. The reality of it is you can only charge insurance for the mental health person. And if
right.
you have to split that between a co-facilitator and horses, who wants to do that? You can't afford to keep your own lights on.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to learn how to be creative. And we talked to many other people. This has been going on for well over 20 years across the globe. So we've talked to people and asked them how have they been successful. How we have ultimately been successful. Two things. One, I think we're at the right place at the right time. We're not the first in Delaware to provide this. I really think when our first little contract with the state of Delaware, and that's exactly how we're successful as
Mm,
contracts. Other organizations have found value in this alternative, which now, again, we're opening our eyes to so many things. Adding horses to therapy, ecotherapy now,
mm,
acupuncture. We're starting to believe like it's shifting, and I'm excited about that.
me too.
So we do charge a fee to add that equine professional and the horses. We try to keep it really low, just enough to make sure that those costs are covered. But when that cannot be paid, we have been able to develop, and again, it's been years in development. It was not
Mm,
magical by any stretch of the
hmm,
imagination. Um, Develop relationships by bringing people out here and actually experiencing what does it
mm,
mean. You and I could talk about it. Oh, it sounds really good. I guarantee you, if you come out to visit me and walk in the field, you're going to have a whole different, you're going to go, oh, I get it.
hmm.
Because it's an experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Talking about it is only so much. So we are fortunate to have multiple contracts with the state of Delaware that do support both our kids and our adults. So it's really
Mm,
it's just a gift. We have a nonprofit arm that
okay.
also raises funds when necessary. So to help us, and if there's anybody else that's in the Delaware area, and if anybody's listening in the Delaware area, and they do provide on a small scale, because I know we have a couple other therapists that they just utilize it for their own private practice, which is appropriate. If you have trouble with funding, our nonprofit arm is for anybody in the state of Delaware providing
Mm,
assistance. So it's just a small application. It's super easy to
that's
apply.
great. And is it just for psychotherapy with horses that you provide assistance?
Currently, we do have part of our arm. It just started 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. Unfortunately, we lost a colleague. Didn't work with us
Mm,
here, but we lost a colleague, and his life work was canine assisted psychotherapy and
ah,
canine assisted therapy. And his family has since partnered with Courageous Hearts. So we have a small little pocket for canine assisted therapy. So if there's any therapists also, if they can apply to get their dogs trained, as long as we have the funding, it's minimal right now. But if it's there, we have funding for that as well. Isn't that
that's
exciting?
fantastic.
Yeah.
That is
What an
so
honor for this.
exciting.
Yeah, an honor for this man to honor his life.
Mm,
Mhm.
seriously. Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious about your journey. I mean, 20 years, over 20 years, right? From founding this. Wait,
13
nope,
years.
I'm doing my math
2012.
wrong. My
13
bad.
years.
You said 20 years and I was like, "Oh, that's right. It's been 20." No, 13
Yeah.
years. Um,
Yeah.
what has that journey been like as a founder, as an entrepreneur, and some of the ups and downs? I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I did not come into this as a business person. Had
Oh,
no idea about business.
yeah.
So it's been learning as I go.
Mm,
It started out with, like I said, myself, Linda, and then within the first 2 years, I had another equine professional and then an intern. A master's level intern started with us, and we were super part-time. I was still working a full-time job.
mm,
Um, My intent, Rachel, was to bring my private practice home, and that was kind of it. It didn't happen that way. Um, because again, we did have to find funding for the horses. So
Right.
very first contract, well, the little contract for $1,000 that we got, I won't, that's kind of I want to tell you about the first $20,000 contract we got. Something came out, there was a request for proposal. I'd never heard of an RFP before in my life.
Oh.
Didn't know what it was. Somebody said to me, you should apply for this. I'm like, okay, it was $20,000 for an after-school program. I think they were asking for specific alternative. I can't remember because it was in 2013. And see if you can get the money. It was a pilot program to hopefully be expanded to a couple of years. So I pulled up the document and I just answered every question.
Hmm.
And that's all I did. I answered every question appropriately. And then what I did with the budget, this is one of my funnier stories. When you get a state budget, they have line items for lots of things. I thought I had to fill in every line item.
Oh. Huh?
I'm like, I don't need linens. Why do I? So I put like $5, like, I mean, it was ridiculous. So then back then too, we weren't emailing because it was pre-COVID. So you had to
Mm.
bring your packet up to get time stamped into Wilmington, into the department, the children's department. So I walked in right before it was due. I took it to the very last minute. It was due by 2 p.m., whatever day. It was probably 1:40, 45. Somebody walked in ahead of me with a packet an inch and a half thick. It
Oh.
got time stamped and my heart sunk because
Mm.
I went in with about 20 pages. Now, mind you, and you had to have 5 copies. Like I said, it was all this drama. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to turn it in anyway, whatever. We're not going to get it. So we got a phone call and they were really interested. And you know
Mm.
what they did for me? They
Mm.
brought me into a room with 10 leaders from the YRS department, the youth department, and it was not the youth department, it was criminal justice because it was part of their
Mm.
funding, prevention and behavioral health, which was not called that, but the kids department at that time, some accounting people, and they said to me, we think what you have is really great. We're going to mentor you into how to create budgets, how to bill appropriately, how to price it appropriately. And they did.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
Yeah. And so since then, we have found that the people in all the different departments continue to mentor me. As I learn, I've gotten pretty good, but there's still, life is, we're always learning. So we did get that $20,000 and they loved it so much. We were providing after school programming 3 days a week. And then they extended it into a 3-year, $100,000 contract a year for 5 after school program, 5 days a week.
Mm.
Yeah. So then with that, then I had to figure out, I did all of it myself, like many entrepreneurs. I did all the billing, I did all the accounting, I did all the payroll. And again, we still had a really small, I didn't have a lot of people to pay, so it wasn't terrible. So we took it really slow. Someone told us in the very beginning, go slow.
Mm.
The people that are successful learn, fine tune that, and move on to the next thing. And that was the best advice I ever got. And I really think that attributes a lot to our success.
Mm.
I didn't buy 5 buildings, or I didn't say, oh, quick, we're gonna get this money and people are happy about us. Let's hire 5 clinicians. We didn't do it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And it sounds like also help people who helped you along the way.
So many people. And all you have to do is ask. You
Mm.
really do. Sometimes, with authority, when we put authority title on people, we tend to pull back and we tend to get afraid. We're all just people. They're just titles,
Exactly.
they're just jobs. It's just your expertise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's so true.
Mhm.
That's so true. So what's next for Courageous Hearts? What are you envisioning for the future?
So our biggest shift has started in the last, it's always been part of it, but such a minimal part, but we're really kind of shifting around. We're creating more trainings, more
Mm.
equine. So incorporating horses in personal and professional growth.
Mhm.
So we provide workshops for professional development, team development, women's workshops, self-care for people, because we all need help. But it
Yeah.
doesn't mean we need to go to therapy once a week. But we need some
Mm.
kind of support. So there's this whole arm that we do that. Our professional development, we've been fortunate enough because I'm on the board of NASW, National Association of Social Workers in
Mm.
Delaware, which is really helpful because I have kind of a direct connect if I need continuing educations for something and it kind of moves forward. So we can usually
Mm.
offer continuing educations for most of our workshops if needed. But that's the development. And I personally, for me, am looking to go out and really educate people more. To solidify and to grow the professionalism of the field, because in all honesty, Rachel, nobody governs this field. It's
Oh.
so that's again why I want to come out and educate people, because we hear people saying, "Oh, I'm doing therapy with," and they're riding a friend's horse.
Mm.
And unfortunately, we're calling it therapy. And it's just dangerous, especially when you have huge trauma.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so again, so professionalizing the field is really important, empowering other women, because I'll tell you what, I was 50 years old when I started this business.
Mm.
So here's the thing, friends, it is
Ha.
never too late. And I am starting new programs today. And I will be 65 years old this year. And my co-founder is 70, and we're rocking and rolling. So just know that.
I love that. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Never too late. And
Hmm.
you can still go slow because you got time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing at a time. And the beauty that we love, so Courageous Hearts, the other reason we got big, not big, but as big as we are, we're still very, very small, but relatively speaking, we are the largest in the state of Delaware for
Mm.
sure. And even talking to other people in the country, they call us and say, "How do you do what you do?" I can't promise that it can be replicated elsewhere. Delaware is a small state, and it's the networking and the communication. So if you can do that in counties at
Mm.
other places, that was definitely an advantage here. Because everybody knows everybody if you keep going to the same networking things.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
helpful. It's super helpful. But what happens here, the people that all work here, I've never recruited ever.
Hmm.
People show up and they say, "I feel the magic. I want to work here."
Hmm.
And they stay and they put what they want to do. So I'll tell you about Molly a little bit as an example. I asked them, "What do you really want to do?" And they want to incorporate horses. Molly works a lot with body image, eating disorder, all that type
Hmm.
of thing. And she's an equestrian as well. And she has created Beautiful Me, which is, and it's connecting with Beautiful Me is her image, body image education, and beautiful, I think it's Beautiful Strides, if I'm getting the names correctly.
Hmm.
Creating programming that incorporates the horses with our self-image. You know how we are still in the society as women. We have this perfect image that is such an illusion. And she's starting young with our middle school
Hmm.
kids, and we have adults coming. So she's created her old program. She's working on that right now. And that's what I feel like my role is at this time in my career, is to mentor other people that are younger, help them find their passions, get
Hmm.
their connections. They can stay with us and create programming through Courageous Hearts, or they can move on. Either way, so far they've all decided to stay and create programming through Courageous Hearts. But yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. Kind of growing the field and getting new ideas and letting people loose. I
Oh
agree with
yeah,
that. We need
absolutely.
everyone and we need
Ah,
all the creativity and all the different ways of doing things.
we do. We do,
Hmm.
because nothing's cookie cutter. As humans, we're not. Some people do really well in a clinical environment, sit, talk. They do great, and this is not the place for them. Other people
Hmm.
come out here and go, "This is my space. I like
Yeah.
to be chill. I like to be able to feel like I'm just chit-chatting, but know that I'm truly being helped by professionals."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a great way to reach people just differently. And like
Hmm.
you're saying, incorporating the animals is just a different way of working on self.
It is. Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm, mhm.
There's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, we're about out of time, but what do you most want people to know about Courageous Hearts or about the entrepreneur journey? What would you say?
Hmm. Trust your gut,
Hmm.
take it slow, and get mentors. And if you
Hmm.
want to come out and see us, email me. We have complimentary events all the time.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, Rosemary, thank you so much for chatting. It was great to hear from you. And if anyone wants to find out how to connect with Rosemary or Courageous Hearts, that's all in the show notes. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Rachel. Thank you.